This is a quick introduction to the topics and the things that have been uploaded onto my website this year. First of all, we've had 11 manuals uploaded. I'm just going to type in SST_12 and this should bring up all the manuals for this year. It won't include any of the manuals from previous years. So let's just have a quick look at the manuals that we've covered this year. Here's the first one, Setting Up Layers with Vectorworks. In Vectorworks 2012, they introduced a new concept called stories, and it really does help the BIM process using stories. So I wrote a manual, and it talked about what are stories, talked about how to set up the layers, and you can read the manual if you're a subscriber by clicking on that link. When the manual loads, you can read through it. You can look at this in full screen. You can look at this as a full page, or fit to width, or you can zoom out, or you can zoom in. This is for saving the manual to your computer, and that's for printing it. So the manual has several pages. It has table of contents, so you can jump to the different parts. It has the movies embedded, so you can click on the movie and play the movies. And there's the movie for creating stories. So I'm just going to go back to the manual. So we covered this concept of stories. It's a really important concept, and it's really important that you look at stories, you understand how they work before you start to set up all your layers. So that was in January last year. That was the first manual for the year. The second manual, we looked at an introduction to 3D modeling, because in Vectorworks 2012 again they introduced some new 3D modeling concepts, and so we looked at extrusions, working planes, why are working planes important, the active working plane, automatic working planes, and then we looked at some simple 3D modeling. In March, we looked at creating a landscape budget plan. This is something that I've been developing for the landmark tutorial manual, and it's a really quick way of looking at a landscape. Very simple, very quick, very quick to get a budget plan if you use these techniques. We looked at industry foundation classes, and one of the keystones of BIM is the ability to share information, interoperability they call it, being able to work with other people, and the main way that you do that is to use industry foundation classes. So I wrote a manual that described IFC in absolute detail, how to make them, what it is, how you use an online viewer, and so on. In May we looked at the conceptual modeling, and we used a urban design project, a large hotel type project, to look at how can you create a conceptual model. So we looked at how we can import the information, how we can import shapefile information, how we can create the building, and how we can look at it with the sun on it. Now with all the manuals recently, what I've been doing is putting in the table of contents so you can see exactly what is included in each manual. We looked at referencing. Referencing is really important. It's the ability to reference not just your own files, but also to work with other people. And I gave several scenarios on how you could work with different options. Referencing PDF files, referencing images, what is referencing, and I spent a lot of time with a large building looking at how you could reference that together. Annotation tips and tricks. So tips and tricks for using with annotation. There are other manuals that cover the basic annotation, the call out tool, so I didn't repeat those. What I wanted to do is cover some of these other things like text styles, the north arrow, dimensioning, scale bar, that kind of thing. In August we looked at creating a solar study. The Vectorworks 2012 has this new Heliodon tool. Those people in Australia and New Zealand have been using it for a while, but now in Vectorworks 2013 the Heliodon becomes more important because it actually creates the sky seen in these two images. It's the same Heliodon, but now it has the ability to have a physical sky. So we looked at window shading, creating a solar study, how trees on adjacent sites can do it. We looked at landscape examples, we looked at architectural examples. We looked at the room finish schedule, which we use spaces to create that. And in October we spent a lot of time looking at what's new in Vectorworks 2013. And finally in November we looked at stairs. Now I think that stairs are underrated. There are some simple stair tools available, real simple, and things like the simple stair, the circular stair, they I think are a great tool for doing conceptual design. They're very simple, they're very quick, but if you get into construction documentation then maybe you want to look at the custom stair or the stair tool. And so I wrote lots of my tips and tricks about using the stair. There's previously been a manual about using the actual stair tool, and you'll find that on the website as well. So I wanted to focus on more of the simple things so that people could see more of the simple stairs and how quickly you can create them. So those are the manuals that I've covered this year in the online workshops. But one of the really important things I've done this year with the subscription service is the introduction of this website, the Searchable website, where you can search by category, you can search by tag, and so on. This to me is a really important step. You can just type here things that you're looking for. Roof. And it'll search through every one of my posts looking for any word that uses roof. It might find a lot though. You can see it's found probably, well that page has 40 posts on it, and that's not all, so there are other ones as well. So you can look at that and you can go back. If you want to look at older versions of Vectorworks, I have now put online all the manuals right back to the very beginning. So I have, I think, over 60 manuals online, and they're now searchable all the way back to the very first manual I wrote in 2007, I think. So 2009, camera match, 2007, simple roof and the roof framer. So all of the manuals are now available. I've gone back to all of my old manuals and I've relinked all the old manuals to the new movie locations. So if you wanted to, you can go back to my very first manual, this one here, you can download it, you can still play every movie that's in there. So we've now got a lot of movies. For example, over 870 movies that are linked to the manuals. 17 special interest movies, 34 beginner movies. The Guide to Productivity, 184 movies about doing things productively. So let's look for the Guide to Productivity. That should be enough to find it. So there is a page called Guide to Productivity, and what I've done with this Guide to Productivity is to link all of the movies that relate to the Guide to Productivity to this page. And here are all the movies. Draw with objects, selection tool. If you're on a Macintosh, you can put your finger on the command key and click on one of those links and it'll create a new tab on your Explorer, your web browser. On a Windows machine, it's the Control key. So see, I've clicked on that link with the Control key down, and it's loading a new tab. So that'll give me that movie without losing my guide to productivity. So you can, if you want to, click on several of those, and it'll link to each of those movies, and that's a really quick way to go through each one of those and play the movies. Now these movies will also play on your iPad, so you can use your iPad to search these movies and to play them. I've also added a guide to quick conceptual design. Which has, I think, about 60 movies. Here it is here, Guide to Residential Conceptual Design. This has some really quick tricks to make it really quick to do a conceptual model. Again, I've used that same concept of creating a post. All the movies are linked in here. You click on one of those, it'll open up that movie, just telling what the movies are, and there's several movies in there. So there's now, I think, over 1,200 movies in this website which are now searchable. You can search by topic, you can search by tag. There's just so much here, and that's a lot of that is new this year. The ability to search is new, the website is new. I've put quite a lot of effort into getting all those movies online, and I hope you really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, I think you might want to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and choose your subscription. There is no other website with the wealth of information like this one.